But we wanted to speak first to Miranda Devine. She is, of course, a New York Post columnist. We spoke to her at the time, more than 2 years ago, about the censorship of this story. She's since written a book about it called Laptop from Hell, which is excellent. She joins us tonight. Miranda Devine, you are at the very center of this story. What do you make of it?
Look, I think we've seen quite a bit that's useful. It's not really the smoking gun we'd hoped for. I feel that Elon Musk has held back some material. In particular, there's a tweet in which Matt Taibbi says, well, he hasn't seen any evidence that law enforcement specifically warned off Twitter from our story. But that's just not correct. I've seen a sworn affidavit from Yoel Roth, the former head of Twitter's trust and safety. He was meeting every week before the election with FBI and other intelligence officials. They warned specifically of what they called a hack and leak operation, a dump of Russian disinformation. And Yoel Roth says that in those meetings he was told there was a, quote, rumour that it was about Hunter Biden. So they seeded that information with the social media giants, the FBI did, and that ensured that within hours of our story going live on October 14, 2020, 3 weeks before the election, it was censored. Now we're finding out a little bit more that there was discussion behind the scenes at Twitter, quite an active argument about whether this was a First Amendment problem. But the other interesting thing is how little Jack Dorsey was involved. He was obviously just blindsided, it seems, by the people under him who were intent on censoring this. And I think we have to point the figure, you mentioned him already, Jim Baker, Twitter's #1 lawyer, who says he says their caution is warranted. Now, that's coming from your top lawyer. You're going to pay attention to it. He, of course, is former FBI general counsel, very much involved in the Russia collusion hoax.
What's interesting is, for the purposes of today's story, which, as I've said 5 times, is still unfolding, but Elon Musk announced earlier that this release of documents was going to begin at 5 p.m. Eastern. We're now more than 3 hours past that, and we still haven't seen everything that they're going to release. He said, well, actually, at the last minute, we're getting some facts straight. How likely is it, do you believe, of course it's certain, that he was leaned on by government agencies? Just like everyone who tries to release all the information is leaned on by government agencies.
And good evening, everybody. This is a really interesting day, right? And I wanted to stop it right there because I told everybody that I would be surprised if they haven't brought up lawsuits or something to prevent Elon Musk from dropping all of these Twitter files. To my understanding, there's over 1,000 files that they have. And like she just mentioned, that they're possibly holding back on some of the files. Are there lawsuits? Is the federal government coming down on Elon Musk? You know, maybe they're talking about deporting Elon Musk because he is an African American, right? He was born in Africa. So maybe they're talking about that. Maybe there's something else going on behind here. Why? You know, and I'm kind of asking the question, too. Why hasn't he released all of the footage, all the data, right? How come he hasn't released all the docs yet? Maybe he's just, building it up and then it's going to start dropping stuff. It's almost like Eric Snowden. You remember or Julian Assange, how he would do these data dumps on the corruption that was happening in politics and how they were going after them to shut him up. Maybe they're trying to label Elon Musk the same way. What do you think?
Yeah, and the pressure has to have been immense. I remember just yesterday, Wednesday, he met with Tim Cook from Apple, who had been threatening, even though Elon Musk now says he wasn't threatening, but he was threatening, as was the White House, that Twitter would basically be wiped out by being removed from the Google and Apple app stores. And so Elon Musk met in person with Tim Cook. They had a stroll around the pond of Apple headquarters and came out of that saying, well, Apple is not going to do that, never was going to do that. Well, obviously some sort of accommodation, you would think, was made between the two of them. And perhaps Elon Musk has given us a sort of a tailored or redacted version of all the material behind the scenes, because I know from the lawyers who were involved in the deposition last week of FBI agent Elvis Chan that there's much more to the story with the social media companies, and that top Twitter people like Yoel Roth, the former head of Trust and Safety, basically the top censor, the top moderation guy, he admitted that in one of those meetings that Hunter Biden's name was brought up. So while Mark Zuckerberg's been quiet about that, and while in this particular dump of information from Twitter so far, 38 or something tweets so far, there's been no mention of Hunter Biden being mentioned, but we know he was mentioned by the FBI to the social media giants. So will that come out in this feed from Elon Musk? Is he holding something back? Or is it just that Facebook really was first out of the blocks to censor the New York Post and Twitter followed suit? So I don't know. I suspect that Elon Musk has been leaned on and he's kept a little bit of information in reserve.
And I guess that, not to like toot my own horn or anything, but maybe that makes me right. Maybe, because I kept telling everybody that they're going to do something, that, they're going to do like a lawsuit or something to prevent him from releasing all of the information. But I'm hoping that Elon Musk is not going to bow down. He's not going to cower down to these evil Democrats, because that's the ones who's doing it. The Biden crime family. I mean, what do you think they could possibly do? Now, I've mentioned this before, and I don't ever incite for violence or anything, but I've mentioned this before, that Elon Musk, and I'm pretty sure that he has it. But I've said multiple times already that Elon Musk needs to probably increase his security detail. That's all I'm saying. Is there a threat on his life? I don't know. I hope not. But I think he should increase his security detail, because if the information has the left so terrified that what he could possibly release, for them to go through extra measures, he probably should. But everything is coming out, right, about the Hunter Biden laptop, which is 100% true now. We all know it. We're talking about it now. And they still tried to cover up that information. So when the federal government went to Facebook, and we all know that they did because Mark Zuckerberg told us. He said it on Joe Rogan that the FBI went there. And he probably is like, it was really weird, right? Because it was almost like Mark Zuckerberg was compelled to tell the truth. And Joe Rogan is just sitting there, he's like, wow, what? The FBI came to you? And he said that they didn't directly talk to him, but they talked to people at Facebook. But they still did it. And let me remind you of this. You remember this? Because this was during the debate, and they brought up the Hunter Biden laptop. President Trump did. And Joe Biden was literally saying that it was Russian propaganda. Well, guess what? It wasn't Russian propaganda. None of it was. It was 100% true. Listen to this. Let me do a recap. Listen to this.
50 former national intelligence folks who said that what he's accusing me of is a Russian plant. They have said that this has all the 5 former heads of the CIA, both parties, say what he's saying is a bunch of garbage.
This is classic Trump. We have 4 days left, and all of a sudden there's a laptop. There's overwhelming evidence that from the intelligence community that the Russians are engaged.
I still think that the stories from the fall about your son Hunter were Russian disinformation at a smear campaign, like you said.
Yes. I know you'd ask it. I have no response. It's another smear campaign. It's the last-ditch effort in this desperate campaign to smear me and my family. The vast majority of the intelligence people have come out and said there's no basis at all.
He's straight up lied. So where is this intelligent community at, right? Why aren't they coming out saying, well, anything that Elon Musk is about to drop, based on the information that has dropped on Twitter, talking about different things. How come they haven't come out and said none of this is going to be true? There's yet to be a statement from any of them. Joe Biden was lying. He was lying then, and he's lying now, and he's constantly lying because it is the Biden crime family. Now, one of the things that they did drop on Twitter, what they were talking about, and I should have got a screenshot, and I apologize for not having a screenshot, but one of the things was Kellyanne McEnany. You remember her? She was a press secretary. Twitter suspended her account because she was inquiring information about the Washington Post Hunter Biden laptop drop. Y'all remember that? They suspended the Washington Post account because they were talking about it, and then they also did her account. And then they sent emails and information to Twitter saying, hey, why did y'all suspend the press secretary's account, when all she was doing was asking? She was inquiring about it. That's all she was doing. So anybody was asking about it, anyone who mentioned about Hunter Biden laptop, they were going after them because of the federal government was working with the Democrats to suppress truth, to suppress factual information. And where are the fake fact checkers at right now? All of the fake fact checkers that were saying that this was Russian disinformation and they were actually going after innocent people who were telling the truth, where are they at now? It's like you hear nothing from them when it comes to the Hunter Biden laptop. And all of the damage that they did to so many Americans, nothing happens. Something needs to change here, because it'd be one thing if it wasn't true and they were doing this and they were attacking people. And I'm talking about these fake fact checkers. If they were attacking people for posting actual fake news, disinformation, if they were actually going after them for that, but they haven't been doing that. They actually went after people who were telling the truth. This is happening in America where they're actually doing this. And again, this was the federal government using big tech to censor the American people, and big tech is just a proxy. Same thing was going on with Russia. The United States of America is at war with Russia. They're using Ukraine as a proxy. Do you understand that? Some people had no idea when I was saying they're being used as a proxy. They had no idea what I'm talking about. But I hope that explains it. I hope that explains it. You know, we've been talking about free speech for the last, 3 weeks now, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, ever since Elon Musk said that he was going to allow free speech to be on Twitter. And then the tyrants on the left were saying, oh, my goodness, he's going to destroy democracy. The tyrants on the left saying that Twitter is going to become a national security threat because he's allowing what the Constitution says, free speech. And then even Elizabeth Warren, which I played it last night, Elizabeth Warren is upset, saying that not one man should be able to have a say-so on what people can and can't say. But she didn't have any issues when they were blocking conservative Christians, Republicans from the platforms. She said nothing about that. She had no issues, no qualms with Twitter then, but now all of a sudden, Twitter's becoming a major problem for them. And again, I'm just wondering, did they do lawsuits? Because for those of y'all that's watching, y'all know that I said this. I'm wondering, are they going to do lawsuits? Because, they always drum up some kind of lawsuit to prevent people from doing the entire dump to show all of the information. Why? They're probably saying that, well, you can't drop this because it has names in it. What? It has government officials' names in it. That's probably what their angle. And they're saying, well, if you drop this information, there's going to be lawsuits if you drop the information. They should have never done it in the first place. And you know what? Be honest with you. I wish Elon Musk would have never said anything from the get-go. I wish he would have just said, boop, drop. Oh, look what we found here. Just the same way he found those T-shirts in the closet to say, stay woke. I wish he would have just taken his documents and said, yo, look at this. What do we have here? Don't tell anybody what you're going to do. Just do it. Just do it. Because the federal government, they're going to come at him with all their might to make sure that they continue to censor the American people, to violate the First Amendment rights of you and I. They're not going to stop doing it. And even though Elon Musk has already started releasing some information, they're not going to stop. And they're probably terrified that, oh, wait a minute, is he going to actually release more? Is he going to release more? There's a video with Judge Janine where she's even talking about how we're talking about the First Amendment, and it shouldn't even be a discussion right now. In the day and age that we are in, the civilization that we supposedly have, free speech is because the rest of the world would marvel after America because of our freedoms. But of course, the left are trying to take all that away. Okay, let me change it up a little bit here. You have Joe Biden, and Joe Biden was asked about Warnock. His name is Warnock, but I call him Warlock because he's pretty demonic. Well, Joe Biden was asked about Warnock in Georgia, and listen to what Joe Biden says here about Warnock.
I can't think of anything he hadn't voted for with us. There may be something. I know it's a problem because they're running against him, saying he votes 98% of the time with Joe Biden. I wouldn't tell him that on the phone, but
So it sounds like to me that he just threw Warnock under the bus. He just threw Warnock under the bus. So, and this probably maybe why Warnock doesn't want Biden to even show up. Now, let me share something else with you, because this was on the Communist News Network. Did you know CNN was doing a lot of layoffs? Did you know that? And I don't know if CNN doing the layoffs has anything to do with this particular video that I'm about to share with you, but I find it very interesting that they're even allowing this to take place on CNN. Listen to this.
And the issues against Warnock, and there are a lot of them that you are simply not bringing up in this call, are recent. But the thing is I think they're disingenuous if they're talking about voting on character. We've got a choice right now. We have got a split Senate. I'm going to vote on which candidate is going to bring balance to the Senate, because we know how Raphael Warnock's going to vote. He's going to vote with Biden almost all the time on very far left-wing positions.
You hear that? Sorry about that. He's gonna vote with him on all these left-wing positions, and this was on CNN. This was on CNN. But wait, it gets better. Look at this one. This is another one on CNN. Does this have anything to do with the layoffs at CNN? Someone please help me understand what is going on with CNN. It's almost like CNN is trying to do the right thing, or they're at least allowing different points of views like this. And this is okay. I want to tell you something that you probably didn't notice here, because most of the viewers that watch my videos and stuff, they really don't pay attention to this particular thing. But he's black. See, all the white people that watch my videos, they really don't pay too much attention to it, but I'm bringing it to your attention that he's black. And listen what he says.
But I'm definitely voting for Walker, because unlike Senator Warnock, Walker has been very clear on his positions regarding the issues. If you watch the debate between Walker and Warnock, Warnock would not answer any questions directly. He just kind of danced around them like a typical politician. And, for him to only be in the Senate for 1 year, that's pretty remarkable that he's, able to do that. And I just don't think that we need to have 6 more years of Raphael Warnock in the U.S. Senate, especially as a pastor who openly supports things that are contradictory to the Bible that you're supposed to be preaching every Sunday.
You hear that? You hear that? And again, I'm like really taken back. What, CNN? Really? And no one interrupted him. No one interrupted the last lady I just played that was on CNN. No one interrupted them and saying, well, wait a minute. No one did. What is going on at CNN? Somebody tell me. Could the layoffs be affecting all of this? Well, Biden was at his little table there, his little presidential table. President Trump has the big one. Biden has the small one. And he's at this table here, and someone asked a question about, is he going to go to Georgia, or why not go to Georgia and help out Warnock? And then he turns around and says that he is going to Georgia. The devil says he's going down to Georgia, but then the devil does a 160 or 180 and says, well, no, I'm not actually going to go down to Georgia to help the devil out. This devil said he's going to go to where Senator Warren is. What? Listen.
Aren't you going to Georgia to help Senator Warnock?
I'm going to Georgia today to help Senator Warren, not to Georgia. I'm going to help Senator Warren today. I'm doing a major fundraiser up in Boston today for our next and continued Senate candidate, Senator.
Ooh-wee. I mean, ooh-wee. You hear this? Warnock is getting ready to come up in just 4 days. Just 4 days. The election in Georgia is just 4 days because it's December 6th. So the question is, I don't think, like I showed y'all before, Warnock, he doesn't want Biden there because Biden is not going to help him. They want to make sure that they try to keep Biden out of their limelight. They don't want it there. They don't want him there. something is truly wrong with that dude, and they still keep putting him out there. You know, it's like what Obama said, that they don't give Joe anything of importance to do. You know, they just let him talk a little bit here and there. But the press keep asking him questions, even after Obama said this about Joe. They keep asking him questions like he's running something. Now, you know, Nancy Pelosi, she's out, right? She's no longer going to be the House leader. She's no longer going to be the majority leader in the House. She's being replaced. And I really don't want McCarthy. Some people say, oh, Will's wanting McCarthy. No, I really don't. I don't want McCarthy. We can do much better than McCarthy. McCarthy is a rhino. And I don't know if y'all have seen this, but there's pictures flying all over the place with McCarthy showing up and rubbing elbows with these Democrat elitists. He's a straight up rhino. Straight up rhino. If it was my choice, it would be Matt Gaetz. If it was my choice, right? But anyways, listen to Lauren Boebert as she's talking about Nancy Pelosi on the way out the door.
Madam Speaker, the American people have spoken. They have fired you and have chosen to end the Democrats' one-party rule throughout our government. The days of this chamber being treated as Pelosi's house instead of the people's house are over. The American people will once again be allowed into this chamber to see their representatives at work. Republicans made a lot of promises on the campaign trail. It's time we make good on those promises. We must defund the 87,000 IRS agents that the Democrats hired, increase domestic energy production, get to the bottom of Hunter Biden's corruption, and of course the big guy who's at least compromised by 10%. Reinstate the servicemen and women who were shamefully discharged because they refused to take the COVID vaccine. Reduce government spending and curb inflation. Secure the southern border, at which there is a complete invasion, and reduce the flow of China's fentanyl into our communities. Republicans across America ran on these policies. God help us if we fail to deliver on them. And with that, I yield.
Yes, God help us if we continue down that same path. And, you know, I'm really concerned about McCarthy. And McCarthy, you know what? McCarthy just coming out and saying all of the good talking points. You know, he's saying ear candy. That's all that McCarthy's doing, is giving us ear candy. Now, again, let me be clear. I don't trust McCarthy. He is not my choice by any means. But sadly, it looked like that he's going to sliver his way back in there. And guess what? McCarthy sliver his way back in there. It's going to be the exact same thing over and over again. He's talking a good game right now. But once he becomes a Speaker of the House, it's going to go right back to the same old weak in the knee, no backbone Republicans. And he's going to blackball his own party. McCarthy's going to do that. So you hear everyone talking about whether they're going to do this investigation, they're going to bring all this up, bring this information up, going to bring all that up, and he's going to blackball him. Yeah, I see a couple people saying in the chat on the YouTube, I just happened to look over there where they're talking about Mike Lindell. And yes, you are correct. I've heard Mike Lindell's talking about putting his name in the hat, running for the Speaker of the House. I love the idea. I love it. I really do. Not sure that, you know, how it would work out with my Lindell TV broadcast that I do Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Central, but it would be pretty awesome. It'd be pretty awesome. I think it would be. So I do have a broadcast that I do every Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Central on Lindell TV 2. So if you go to frankspeech.com, it's Lindell TV 1 and then Lindell TV 2. There's two channels going at the same time. Content, explosive content on both, right? But if you want to see Will Johnson on Lindell TV 2, go to 7 p.m. Central, Monday through Friday. And let me share something else with you that I've always talked about. And this is a topic that is true, I guess you would say true and dear to my heart, per se. And it has something to do with the biblical times that we're living in, because, you know, I'm always referring to how the end days that we're living in. Some people like to, no, Will, we're not, because they don't want to see what I see. And that's perfectly fine. You know, a meteorite coming down, getting ready to hit the earth and be like, oh, it's not actually there. Ignore it. But I can't ignore what's happening right before our eyes, and I have to share this information with you. Now, I want you to listen to this young man, because this young man is talking about Starbucks and the attacks on Christianity. And this has been one of the main topics that I've talked about for years. And I told people that there's going to be a day that's going to come. And it's not me making a prophecy. It's not me, crystal ball or nothing like that. It's in the Bible. It's in the Bible. There's going to come a day to where if you believe in Christ, that you will be persecuted. And that day is closer than we can imagine. Now, would I like to be wrong? Absolutely. I don't think you ever hear anybody say that they like to be wrong as much as I do. But we see it, and many of you see what's happening. Now, listen to what this young man says about Starbucks, which is really interesting.
G'day guys, Nick Adams here. I want to speak about Starbucks and the war on Christmas. Now, I don't know when the last time you went to a Starbucks was, but I want to tell you that they've got these little red cups that they've just come out with. Red cups this year. You know what's on these red cups? Absolutely nothing. No nativity imagery, no Merry Christmas, no manger, absolutely nothing. Starbucks is a very clear proponent of the greater war on Christmas that seeks to eliminate God from Christmas, take Christ out of Christmas, and turn it into some secular, navel-gazing, namby-pamby garbage. Well, I don't know about you, but I'm not going to stand for it. When President Trump was the president, everybody said Merry Christmas, and I loved it. Now that Biden is the president, we never hear Merry Christmas anymore. It's always Happy Holidays. Let me make this very clear. Alpha males say Merry Christmas, beta males say Happy Holidays. We need to fight, we need to confront this war on Christmas with everything that we've got. From the soles of our feet to the tops of our heads, the war on Christmas must be confronted and then destroyed, relegated to the dustbin of history where it richly belongs. I invite you to join me on that fight. I invite you to join me on boycotting Starbucks, the woke organisation that has got a red cup, meaning absolutely nothing.
But you know what? That's not surprising, right? Because Starbucks was like I remember years ago, Starbucks was like one of the first companies to go woke. I remember that because I remember calling them gay bucks, right? They were the first one to go woke. Now, if you want to support a certain thing, by all means do it, but don't be hypocrites. Don't be hypocrites. And to be honest with you, I don't ever go to Starbucks. Now, I know people who do, and I think the only time I've gone to Starbucks is like once every blue moon. But I don't I got to go get Starbucks. That's not who I am, and that's not what I do. Because Starbucks is not, I can't do Starbucks. I just don't like Starbucks. I really don't. Besides, if I'm going to get coffee, I'm going to get my coffee. Not to do a plug or anything here, because I never do that, but this is the bag of beans, the coffee beans, my pillow, But if you want to do it, if you want to get some, use promo code UNITES1. I got to throw it in there. I love the way it smells too, because it's the beans and I crush them just a little bit and the smell comes out. Yeah, it's really good. Okay. Let me move on here because I still have some stuff that I want to share with you, of course. Actually, I don't. Actually, I'm done. So I was going to do, just go over the Rumble tonight, but I'm not going to do that. Not tonight. So I'm just going to end it here. This is Friday night. I want to thank everyone for being with me. Thank you so much for participating. Thank you so much for all the blessings. Please go to my website, uniteamericafirst.com. Support me if you can. I really greatly appreciate it. It's Friday. It's the weekend. Please be safe out there. Prayers. We need to pray for Georgia. Because if they do what I think they possibly will do, it's not going to be pretty. My name is Will Johnson, and this is a reality check.